This is the story we know, the unstoppable rise of the North American city. A story of growth, expansion, and perpetual progress. But it's not the only story, because for every metropolis that thrived, there is another that almost blinked out of existence. Not towns that died a slow death, but vibrant communities that faced near-total, almost instantaneous erasure. Welcome to North American Life. Today, we're not telling a story of growth, but one of survival. We're exploring the cities that stood on the brink of vanishing entirely and the fragile threads of fate that kept them on the map. Our first story takes us to Chicago, 1871, a city of 300,000 people built of wood and ambition. It was a transport and commercial hub, the fastest growing city in America. But it was a tinderbox. On the night of October 8th, the Great Chicago Fire began. The legend of Mrs. O'Leary's cow is just that, a legend. The truth was a perfect storm, a long drought, wooden buildings, wooden sidewalks, and strong southwestern winds. For over 24 hours, the fire raged. It jumped the river not once, but twice. It created its own weather, with fire tornadoes hurling burning debris miles ahead of the main blaze. The city's waterworks were destroyed early, leaving firefighters helpless. When the smoke cleared, the heart of Chicago was gone. An area for miles long and nearly a mile wide, over 3.3 square miles, was reduced to ash and rubble. 17,500 buildings were destroyed. Over 100,000 people, one-third of the city's population, were instantly homeless. The damage was estimated at $200 million, over $4 billion today. This was the moment of near vanishing. Could a city recover from such a total, catastrophic blow? Many thought Chicago was finished, a smoldering ruin on the shore of Lake Michigan. But this is where the story turns. Instead of vanishing, Chicago undertook the most audacious rebuilding project in American history. The fire had cleared the slate. Architects and planners flocked to the city. The world's first skyscrapers, built of steel and stone, rose from the ashes. The city rebuilt its infrastructure better than before. Chicago didn't just recover. It used its near-death experience to reinvent itself, becoming the modern architectural marvel we know today. It's a city that literally rose from its own ashes. Just under a century earlier, the young United States faced a different kind of apocalypse, one you couldn't fight with water. In the summer of 1793, the nation's capital and largest city, Philadelphia, was about to meet an invisible enemy, yellow fever. The virus likely arrived with refugees and mosquitoes from St. Domingue, modern-day Haiti. In the hot, humid summer, the Aedes aegypti mosquito found a perfect breeding ground in Philadelphia's stagnant water and open sewers. The outbreak began slowly, then exploded. Victims would experience a sudden fever, chills, and excruciating pain. Then, for many, came the telltale sign: black vomit, a result of internal bleeding. Mortality rates were staggering, near 50%. Panic was absolute. The federal government fled, including President George Washington. Over 20,000 citizens, nearly half the city, fled into the countryside. The city shut down. Streets were deserted, save for the dead carts collecting bodies. It was a scene of societal collapse. With no government, it fell to the brave and the desperate to hold the city together. Dr. Benjamin Rush, signer of the Declaration of Independence, stayed, risking his life to treat the sick, though his treatments were often as deadly as the disease. Stephen Girard, a wealthy merchant, took over the nightmare of the Bush Hill Fever Hospital, providing order and care. By the time the first frost in October killed the mosquitoes, the fever had burned itself out. But the cost was horrific. An estimated 5,000 people had died, 10% of the city's population. Philadelphia had come within a thread of being completely abandoned, a ghost city that was once the capital of a nation. Its survival was thanks to a handful of heroes and the changing of the seasons. The trauma directly led to the creation of the first public health systems in America, a legacy born from near annihilation. Our next story isn't about a sudden catastrophe, but a deliberate death. And it's in Canada. In the early 20th century, the company town of Val-Jalbert was a model community, built around a thriving pulp mill and a powerful waterfall in Quebec. It had modern homes, electricity, and even an indoor convent. But in 1927, the owners made a business decision. The mill was no longer profitable. They shut it down, and when the mill closed, the town's only reason for existing vanished. The company and the government didn't just evict people. They offered them a paid relocation. One by one, families packed up their lives and left. They dismantled their homes, taking everything, even the nails. It was a planned, orderly dissolution. Val-Jalbert was a ghost. The power was cut. The streets fell silent. The forest began to reclaim the land. This was a city that did vanish, a perfect example of a company town that died with its industry. But here's the twist in the tale. Val-Jalbert refused to stay dead. Decades later, people saw the value in this perfectly preserved time capsule. In the 1960s, it was designated a historic site. Today, it's a popular tourist destination. You can walk its streets, ride a funicular, and see the Wiachuan Falls that once powered the mill. Val-Jalbert is a unique case. It did vanish as a living community, but it was resurrected as a monument to its own memory. It's a ghost that found a new purpose. Our final story is not of a single city, but of a region, the Great Plains of the United States and Canada. In the early 20th century, encouraged by high wheat prices and new technology, settlers engaged in the Great Plow, turning millions of acres of deep-rooted native grassland into farmland. Then, in the 1930s, drought hit. With no grass to hold the soil down, the earth began to literally blow away. The Dust Bowl had begun. Black blizzards, dust storms. Thousands of feet high wood roll across the plains, blotting out the sun. Static electricity made it so people couldn't shake hands without getting a shock. Dust infiltrated everything, causing dust, pneumonia, and killing livestock and people. The result was one of the greatest human migrations in American history. tens of thousands of families, the Okies and Arkies, abandoned their land. Counties across Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, and the Canadian prairies saw their populations plummet. Towns that had sprung up during the boom were simply abandoned, their wooden skeletons slowly collapsing into the prairie. These communities didn't just almost vanish, many of them did. They are the true ghost towns, erased by an ecological catastrophe that was, in part, man-made. The ones that survived did so by the thinnest of margins, forever shaped by the trauma of watching their world turn to dust and blow away. So, what do these stories tell us? They reveal the profound fragility of our urban world. A city, for all its concrete and steel, is a delicate ecosystem. It can be threatened by fire, by disease, by economic collapse, or by the very environment it depends on. Chicago, Philadelphia, Val-Jalbert, the Dust Bowl towns, they are reminders that progress is not inevitable. Survival often hinges on a few brave individuals, a change in the weather, or the sheer stubborn will of a community to rebuild. They are the ghosts of progress, whispering a warning and a lesson in resilience from the other side of oblivion. Which of these stories of near disappearance resonates most with you? Are there other cities in your region that have faced a similar fate? Share your stories in the comments below. If you want to uncover more of North America's forgotten stories, help us keep the exploration going by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell for North American life. Thanks for watching.